Hello, everybody. It's Friday. Made it to the weekend. So, yeah, as I said on Twitter, you made it. Drink up the goodness because Monday is lurking just out of sight. So, usually on Fridays these days, I like to preview some of the Soul Finder stuff that's on its way. This is a preview of Noctis Terrari, some art by Eric Canetti. So that book is all done, the artwork and all of that. And I really just need to have the lettering finished. That shouldn't take very long at all. And then get it printed. The soft covers, that doesn't take very long at all. And I was saying on Twitter, really, I got to talk to the guys. We have a North Carolina show coming up. Crystal, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. And I have all this stuff that's been, I don't want to say piling up, but I have Soul Finder bags that I was selling at Bell County Comic Cons, but they're not online. I have Soul Finder pins, the unit patch essentially that Timothy Lim designed. I was selling those at shows, but not online. And then I also have the Soul Finder vinyl, the theme song that came out last year from She Lava with last year's crossover. And then I have Noctis Terrari, which is done, and then Soul Finder Volume 4, which is done except for the color work. I need to get that done. Obviously, color work and lettering, I guess. But the color work, I think we have like 25 pages left to go. So everything's basically, it's there. It's just I need to coordinate it with the other Iconic Comics guys and fit it in there in between everybody's different campaigns, and they're launching and they're doing books and they got stuff. And then I also want to make sure that I'm not just dripping and drabbing stuff here and there. So I would rather when the new book comes out, Volume 4, then I also simultaneously have all the merchandise with it simultaneously. So it's all coordinated. I don't want to just like willy-nilly just throw stuff out there. So I've been sitting on all this stuff and it's really cool and it's quality stuff, but it's like, I got to get it out there. So we have the North Carolina Comic Con. I'll be flying out. I think it's Thursday, November 2nd, if I'm not mistaken. And then the setup is on Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday is the show. So I got to talk to Tim and Mark and Eric and just be like, hey, what do you guys think I should do? There's a part of me that actually is wondering if I should do a Kickstarter campaign. I'm not 100% sure on that. Part of me like doesn't want to do that, but at the same time, I have all of this stuff and it's really cool. And I don't know. I'm just kind of like torn about what I should do. So I kind of want to talk to these guys and see like, hey, what do you think? Do you think I should just try out Kickstarter since I literally have enough for like a really kick butt campaign and I haven't done Kickstarter? Should I try that? So I don't know. I'm wiffle waffling on that. Part of me just I don't like the crowdfunding stuff, but at the same time, I do have Soul Finder 5 that's coming out, and Matt's going to start on that. And that would, how do I say this? Like making comics is expensive, and my family can't afford it. But at the same time, this is going on 5 books now, and I'm doing hardcovers and all of this sort of stuff. And I don't know, juggling around finances to make sure that you could figure out how everything works while still paying mortgages and, all this sort of stuff. And then my wife has entrepreneurial stuff that she wants to do. And I can't be the greedy guy where it's like, I just want to do my entrepreneurial stuff. You can't do yours because I got to do mine and all this sort of stuff. So I want to be able to be a good husband and free up finances so she can take risks with our family's capital and do the things that she wants to do. Because a couple years ago, she wasn't doing that. But I don't really get into like my wife's stuff. So that's why it's hard to talk about, because it's like I don't want to like get into my wife's personal stuff. But I will disclose that my wife is an entrepreneurial woman, just like I'm an entrepreneurial guy. And when you have two people that are into doing stuff that they want to do, then it gets expensive. And I know that the books, especially the hardcovers, are expensive on my end. So I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. JJ says Kickstarter, listen to Tim and Mark. Yeah, if I actually did a Kickstarter campaign, I would humble myself and listen to the guys that know what the heck they are doing. Tim and Mark, that's the thing is, if I organized it, I'm like, all right, I can be like, Tim, am I screwing this up? Is this bad? I don't know. So the last time I did a campaign was 2019, and it was Indiegogo. We'll see. Horace is here. Wow, our time schedules are way off. Hope you and yours are doing well. Haven't been able to catch a live stream in a while. Thanks, Horace. And the $5 super chat will go to directly into art in Doug prizes and all that sort of stuff, just as it always has. So I will continue to do that, send people stuff. There was actually a guy last night, and I contacted him. He sent a really nice message on Twitter. I guess I could bring it up here. I feel a little awkward even like sharing it, but I guess it fits into the thing. This guy was telling me, where is he? I got ads on here. What is up with the... So this guy, Benjamin, he said, Doug, the Soul Finder series has helped me out a lot, especially the first book, since not too long before I got it back around 2019, my mother died. Not to mention it kind of helped me reignited in my faith and in Christ. Thank you. Anyway, so this guy, I reached out to him. I don't think you would mind me saying this. And I was like, hey, man, do you want a rosary? I'll send you a free rosary. And he was just like, no, I already got it. He's like, I already got the rosary. So I don't need a free rosary or whatever. So anyway, whenever anyone sends a super chat or on Patreon, all the money that I ever get for that sort of stuff always goes into Doug prizes or instances where there is someone, somebody talks about how the books affected them or how they're a longtime reader. And I want to be able to get rosaries into their hands. I want to be able to get like free prints. Sometimes I'll send a war cry to somebody. If somebody says, I lost my job or something like that. Now, I don't want to set myself up for stuff, but sometimes people go on hard times and they're talking to me, and then it's like, hey, here's a book. Hopefully it'll cheer you up. Check it out. That sort of stuff. So anyway, thank you for that. Let's see. Matt, toe in the market. JJ, just keep it simple. I think people get in trouble with multiple campaign levels and perks. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, it's one of those things where like I can do it. I'm perfectly fine doing it, but with the stuff that my wife is doing, I don't want to be this sort of like greedy husband that's hoarding all of the resources for his thing. And a couple years ago, it was just like a different situation with us. It was just me that was doing my thing. And now I want to be able to be flexible with my wife, and I want to give her as much, ease of mind or peace of mind to be able to do the things that she wants to do and have everything going smoothly within our family. So yeah, I don't know. It's tough to talk about, but like I said, I don't like campaigns, but at the same time, part of me is just thinking it's the right thing to do. I'm like feeling like if I had the Noctis Terrari as an add-on with the main book, and then I also offered the other merchandise, which is quality merchandise. People have shared it online. The tumblers did really, really well. I sold out of all the tumblers. I have a couple tumblers that are my own personal ones. I think I might have like one more that I might bring to North Carolina, or I'll just like, I don't know. But anyway, the tumblers basically sold out, so I can get those again. Those did really well at shows. We'll see. Paul's NYC. Hey, Doug. Finally got to watch one of these live. Going well. When one becomes an entrepreneur, it does get difficult to balance your endeavors with others and keeping family balanced. Indie Wrestling Aces here. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, that's the thing. When it was just me and I was just doing my books and my wife was doing her thing, it was fine. But if she is going to be doing these sort of things where it's high risk, high reward type of things. And so our family tends to like that high risk, high reward situations. And you're trying to figure out what the right thing to do is in any situation. Let's see, you're going to have trolls either way. Might as well lean into capitalism. Yeah, I don't even mind the trolls so much. I was talking to someone else recently. I was like, you know that there are people that are going to be like putting your campaign under the microscope and all these people that are like weirdly in these. They see everything as a horse race, and they're like comparing like Billy Bob superhero comic to Soul Finder when they're totally two different things. And they're going to be like, okay, Doug sold X copies in 2019. Is he still selling X copies? Has he gone up? Has he gone down? Where is he? Blah, 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 blah. Are people buying it? Is Iconic Comics surging into the lead, or is it falling backwards? What's going on? And all that sort of, so it's like on some level I just like really don't care about that sort of stuff. It doesn't bother me, but on another level, like I don't like the culture where it's all about money and that's all it's about. It's not about the quality of the actual books. And to me, like I was saying, I was pointing out Benjamin down here. This is what I care about right here. If I have somebody who is reading the books and it helped ease their mind when their mother passed away or whatever, or it reignites their faith in Christ and anything along those lines, that's what I care about. So it's like, oh, was Doug able to raise $40K on Soul Finder Volume 4? Like, I don't really care about that. I care about reaching individuals and having Soul Finder be something that's really important to them, that they want to see the next one. The other thing I was thinking is that Soul Finder Volume 4 would be the origin story of Father Crane. I mean, it is in Vietnam. So it is Volume 4, but people who are new to the series, they literally can start at Volume 4 as the first one, because in the how do I say it? In terms of the timeline of everything, it takes place before Father Redder even exists. So you could read Volume 4 and then you could read Volume 1, 2, and 3. So I could offer Volumes 1 through 3, and they could literally start at Volume 4. They don't need to read the volumes in order in which they were released. And so it's like a weird thing where you literally can jump on into the series with Volume 4 as your Volume 1. So I was like, that's actually kind of cool. And then having it be Crane's origin, the last time I did a campaign was Father Redder's origin. So that's kind of cool. Like, there's just multiple things where I'm thinking about it, and I'm just like, yeah, and this is, I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I kind of like it. So we'll see. Captain Frugal, some people are just jealous and want to see others fail. Keep winning. Yeah, like I said, I'm perfectly fine doing my thing on Iconic, but I do with the things that my family wants to do. I also got to be realistic, and I got to be I have to do the right thing. So I can't be like, it's all about me and what I want to do. I don't want to do that with my family. So that would not be a good idea. Speaking about religious stuff, today is an interesting day. I don't know if we'll go back and forth between politics and comic books or whatnot, but so it's the 13th of October. Yesterday on the 12th, people were talking about the 13th, and they were talking about this day of, you could fill in the blanks there, you could see it on the screen. I don't know, I don't want the algorithm to get me, but there's a difference because it's the anniversary of Fatima and actually the miracle of the sun. But it is also, and actually, it's the anniversary of Our Lady of Akita's warning, if I'm not mistaken. But then also here's the other dealio. Two very different visions for October 13th. So not to get too religious, but look into the miracle of the sun, look into Fatima, look into Our Lady of Akita, and all very, very, very interesting. The miracle of the sun was seen by something like 10,000 people, and it was written about in newspapers. Agnostics and atheists witnessed it. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. So when I see what's going on in Israel and Gaza and the world, and the 13th being this quote unquote, we'll just say, here we go, day of rage versus that of Fatima. Check it out. Compare the two and think about it. And actually, I would even encourage you to look into the prophecies as well, and then big picture, look at what is going on. Everything that was predicted way back in the day, essentially during World War I, or the breakout of World War I, by Our Lady, it's coming to pass. It either has come to pass or it is. You can see it in terms of the cultural fights over the nuclear family and what the family means, in terms of Russia spreading its errors across the world, i.e. communism, and how it's seeping into other countries. Within the Catholic Church, cardinals battling cardinals, and dissent amongst one another, and corruption within the church, and people that actually value tradition battling against people that want the church to essentially be this like social services organization that has nothing to do with Christ. All of this sort of stuff has come to pass, or you can see it's happening as was predicted. So very interesting. All right, more comic book talk, blah, 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 blah. Like I said, we will be doing a show in North Carolina early November. So if you're anywhere close to North Carolina Comic Con, I'll be flying into Raleigh, the Thursday night. I think I get in, and yeah, so it's going to be a good time. Had by all, blah blah blah. Black Ops Volume 6 is launching in the near future. Common America 8 fulfillment is just about done, and Tim and Mark are going to launch their campaign soon afterwards. And Kindred Heavens, if you've followed Scott and Bryce, the Kindred Heavens campaign is being fulfilled as we speak. I don't know if I have a picture of that. Here we go. We got the Kindred Heavens boxes. I never get tired of seeing these boxes over and over and over again. In terms of the Black Ops Volume 6 campaign, I have obviously read the book. All 5 creative teams involved in terms of agreeing with Tim and Mark's vision for their characters. They signed off on it. It's good to go. I read the book. It is action-packed. I know you're going to be like, Doug, you're biased. Yes, I am biased. I am trying to be as honest as possible here. If I thought it was horrible, which really, is it going to be horrible? No. It's a really good book. If you have been reading all the Iconic Comics properties or the Antarctic Press properties that are tied into it, you will see that Tim and Mark had a lot of things that they had to juggle. They were juggling creative chainsaws, and they did it. So it has all sorts of action. It's very fun. Every single one of the properties, the characters, they have their little moments in it where you can be like, oh, cool. Yeah, this character that I like, or that character that I like. There's something that will resonate with you, that you'll be able to take from it, that you'll be able to enjoy about it. I am, again, biased. Father Redder, he is obviously in there. Somebody was joking around yesterday that he's looking pretty young in this promo. His holiness keeps him young. It keeps him looking younger than he really is. So he's got that youthful holiness to him, something along those lines. But seriously, if you do like Soul Finder and you're like, Doug, I haven't, seen a Soul Finder book out this year, well, you will get your dose of Father Patrick Redder in Black Ops 6 Iconic Comics X Antarctic Press. And it's pretty cool. Mark and Tim always give him some cool creative real estate, and I can't thank them enough for that. So, bam. Arc Athena, Eric Canetti, he's got his series that is going to continue in the near future. So be on the lookout for that. And there is a new addition to Iconic Comics that will be announced in the very near future. In fact, without saying too much, be on the lookout next week on social media. I think next week, what's the date today? Friday the 13th. So in the very near future, actually, maybe within the next couple days, I don't know, just monitor my social media, Tim's social media, and in the very near future, you will get some Iconic Comics news that I think that you will like. So, bam. Already talked about the nice dude that was talking about how Soul Finder affected his family. Also, I want to shout out to Solid Halon. He did a video as well he went back to the series, and there's a video that he has here on YouTube, blah, 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 blah. Won't bring it up per se, but check it out, Solid Halon. And he talks about how the Soul Finders do not use guns in the main series at all. They do use firearms in the spiritual realm, but they do not use them in the physical realm. And I told him they are not opposed to using firearms in the physical realm, but I would have to have a very good reason to put firearms in their hands and have them shooting at other people. But the whole point of the series is that there is a spiritual war that we are engaged in. You are combatants on a spiritual battlefield, whether you realize it or not. If you could see beyond the veil, there is a war raging all around you with spiritual bombs going off and spiritual bullets and all these sorts of things. That there is a fight for souls going on, and that is where the real battle is for the Soul Finders. So I don't really, for them to start getting into Mexican standoffs with guns and all this sort of stuff, it wouldn't make sense for the series. It wouldn't make sense editorially for me to go that route where Father Redder is just mowing down people because he's got to mow down people or something along those lines. It would not make sense and I know some people want Father Redder to essentially be walking downtown with a rifle and taking out bad guys, but that's not going to happen. But there could be a situation at some point in time where he would need to use a rifle or who knows what, or he would have to revisit the skills in the physical world that he learned in war. But I need to think about why he would be in that situation, and I need to think about the themes that situation would explore and tease out, and how it would affect him, and how I want to affect him in the long run. So you have to think about all these things. You can't just willy-nilly be like, oh, that would be cool, and just like throw it out there. You can't just go with the first thing that pops into your head because you think it's cool, because that's weird. Speaking about the first thing that pops into your head, now we're going to pivot again back to the politics. So I was watching this little clip with Robert Kennedy Jr. and Brian Kilmeade speaking about the Israeli stuff. And so this is very interesting here. Here we go.
Biden, by giving $6 billion to Iran without any conditions, without any indication or pledges of peace, has probably aggravated the situation.
Oh, we got hostages back in exchange.
All right. So speaking about just mind dumping, mind farting, whatever comes into your mind at a moment's notice and how it could blow up in your face, make you look stupid. Brian Kilmeade, right after Robert Kennedy Jr., is talking about how the Biden administration freed up $6 billion for Iran, which then anybody with a brain was like, hey, if you give billions of dollars to this nation that is quite open about their wish, their sort of goal to destroy Israel, there's a high probability if you're going to Las Vegas and they were just like, what is the probability that Iran would use $6 billion given to them, essentially, for all intents and purposes, given to them by the Biden administration? What are the chances that they would funnel that or reallocate their other funds so they could fund terrorism? Well, that would be a sure bet. In fact, Las Vegas, the House wouldn't really like that bet because they would lose. Because anyone with a brain would be like, I'm putting it all on. That's exactly what's going to happen. And that is what happened. But then Brian Kilmeade was just like, oh, well, they got hostages freed. Like that was his immediate thing. This is why I hate the media, because they're not about listening and coming up with thoughtful responses to have an actual discussion with people. It's all about reacting. Brian is one of these guys who's just waiting for his chance to react to what is said to prove that he is the smartest guy in the room. Or it's all about on cable news defending or forwarding a narrative, propping up a narrative. So he's just like, well, they got hostages. And then Robert Kennedy Jr. responds,
yeah, we got hostages back in exchange.
And you could even hear a little bit in his voice. He's laughing. He's just like, yeah, Brian, like, okay, let me break this down for you in a way that even you can understand. If you give someone $6 billion who takes hostages, there's a high probability they're going to be like, wow, I was rewarded with $6 billion for a handful of people. I'm going to take some more people because then I could get more money from these idiots.
3 weeks later, there's now new hostages.
Massive Middle East.
Right? And I mean, that's been a policy for a long time. It's not pay for hostages. And because it just encourages more kidnapping and more hostage taking.
Yeah, it turns out when it's incredibly lucrative to take hostages, then people with the ability to take hostages and zero functioning moral compass, people that they literally don't care, they just want money to be able to do the things that they want to do, they're going to take more hostages. So congratulations, administration. Yeah, and you actually have people out there that are saying that this is not the case. And you have people that are blaming, like, literally Donald Trump for what's going on in Israel. Here we go. Mike Pence. Mike Pence was blaming Donald Trump.
The disastrous withdrawal fund in Ukraine was an unprovoked invasion by Russia. What happened this weekend was an unprovoked invasion by Hamas into Israel. And I really believe now more than ever, both the debate within the Republican Party and the debate within America is whether or not we're going to once again stand without apology as the leader of the free world, as the arsenal of democracy. The heartbreaking images coming out of both of these theaters of operations remind us that America is the indispensable leader of the free world. And if I'm president of the United States, signaling retreat from America, Israel. But I also believe this is what happens when we have leading voices like Donald Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Ron DeSantis signaling retreat from America's role as leader of the free world. What happened in Ukraine was
Dude, how big of a loser do you have to be? This is what I asked on Twitter, to immediately after all of this goes down, you are blaming just people in the Republican primary for it who had nothing to do with it. Like, the idea that this is Donald Trump's fault somehow is ridiculous. You don't even need to like Donald Trump, but Donald Trump was the guy who said, if you give Iran $6 billion, you're going to get terror. If you leave a war's worth of military hardware, military machinery, weapons, explosives in Afghanistan, if you leave a war's worth of that material in a region of the world where they hate Israel, then those weapons at some point in time will be funneled to organizations or individuals who will use it for terror purposes. Donald Trump, you could not like the guy, but his thinking is crystal clear on what happens when you put weapons and hardware in, like military weapons and hardware, into the hands of people that hate another group, and when you also simultaneously give those same people, again, for all intents and purposes, billions of dollars. It ends up with wars and in battles and all. Coincidence? All the people that love war. You need us. The world is an unsafe place. We are your saviors. We will take care of you. Well, yeah, of course. You're in a position to be our quote unquote savior because you're the ones who keep creating wars. The things that you are doing create the wars, and then you claim that you are the savior for the wars that you caused. So if politicians actually did what they were supposed to do, the things that are within their reach, that people would soon realize that we don't really need a government this size. We don't need an administrative state leviathan that reaches its tentacles into every aspect of our lives. So what do? They constantly fund wars. So with the Biden administration, like I said, it literally is funding terrorism in one act. And then when it happens to Israel, then they say, oh, we need to give Israel billions of dollars to fight the terrorism that we funded on the other side. So it's essentially fighting the war it's playing both sides against each other. Now you could say, is that on purpose too? Or are they just stupid? Or what was going? They thrive on chaos. They thrive on uncertainty. They thrive on situations where, again, they are setting themselves up to be your only option. You could even go to the border situation. So if you look at the southern border, they have essentially, it's turned into a sieve. You have people from all over the world: Syria, Yemen, parts of North Africa, all this sort of stuff. China, all over the world. It's not just Mexico. Places, all sorts of like South American countries coming in. People from all over the world, hundreds of thousands of people, like over the course of a couple months. And actually it's into the millions, like literally over 5 million people. I want to say like probably this year alone, but it's millions of people all over the world, just pouring into the southern border. And a lot of these people don't like the United States. It's clear. They've said this is not like a quote unquote conspiracy. They are finding people that are literally on terror watch lists that are quote unquote sneaking. They're not really sneaking. They're waltzing into the United States from the southern border. And so you would say no sane person would allow this to happen. If they allow this to happen, it's because they know they are planting the seeds of chaos and destruction and strife in American cities. You don't have to listen to what they're saying. You just have to look at what's happening. The exact same people that are causing problems in Israel and Gaza right now are the same people that they are allowing into our southern border illegally. So you have to be like, well, why would they allow that? They must, on some level, know that the problems that are going on over there will then come to American cities. But then if they come to American cities, then that would give them the pretext to clamp down on freedoms and civil liberties here at home, while simultaneously saying, you need us to do this. We need to do this for you. But the X factor is the Second Amendment. I got to be careful. YouTube is going to take me down for this. So these people, they want calamity. And at some point in time, the American people, if they bring what's going on overseas here in like the violence and the chaos, at some point in time, it will be on the shoulders of Americans who believe in the Second Amendment. It'll be go time. What Americans will know in the aggregate when the time has come, because it will be down to either we have to do what we got to do, or we will accept the tyrannical boot of those who think that they are our betters. Evil, corrupt people who, again, they planted the seeds of chaos because they knew it would happen, so because they knew they could end the American experiment that was started by our founding fathers long ago, but actually not that long ago. So where is it? Here we go. I've been on a Sebastian Younger kick lately. He's got really good stuff. Here we go. I was reading one of his books, and I was thinking of his book Freedom, and I was thinking about this. So I wrote, America's founding fathers were often wealthy, but they risked it all during the Revolutionary War. They had skin in the game and literally put their lives on the line. Modern politicians risk nothing and, in fact, risk the wealth of the people while sending other men and women to fight their wars. Almost everything that is essential to having a functional American experiment has been turned on its head or abandoned. Our current leaders are largely imposters. They are most certainly unprincipled opportunists. So once upon a time, you had our founding fathers were, they were rich guys. And within the context of the time, you all had slaves and all this sort of stuff. Yes, it was a different time altogether. But within proper context, these were guys that were oftentimes risking everything financially. If things went south, and they did go south eventually, but if things went south during the Revolutionary War, they would not only lose all of their land, all of their financial resources, they would also lose their head. The firing line. You really think that the king, he was going to be like, hey, yeah, you tried to break off from us. You guys started your little revolution. Oh, no, it's all water under the bridge. No, don't worry. No, you're dead. And so at one point in time, we had leaders, true leaders, who were oftentimes on the literal, guys like George Washington, literally on the battlefields. But now our current day politicians, they don't risk anything. They don't risk their lives. They don't risk their finances. And in fact, going back to the gambling analogy, the money that they're betting is not their own. It's our money, the people's money. They financially enrich themselves. They don't risk anything. They live in gated communities. And then the wars that they're fighting, it's not their kids. Their kids end up on the boards of Ukrainian gas and energy companies making millions of dollars. No, they try and sucker people into going into their wars that enrich them, whether it's Afghanistan, Iraq, Ukraine, Israel sort of stuff going on, all of this. Again, they're not sending their kids off to war or putting themselves in a situation where they would have to receive the flag draped caskets of their sons and daughters. No, their sons and daughters are on the boards of different energy companies. That's what they're doing. They're making lots of money. They're sitting by the pool. If they're Joe Biden's kid, they're literally snorting it up their nose in the form of cocaine and other drugs while doing Russian prostitutes and then getting away with it. And then if they do get caught, if it's literally on video, it's swept under the rug. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see that. And if it ever goes to any sort of situation where they investigating it, then the investigators are like, yeah, no, we don't want to. We're going to cut you a deal, slap on the wrist. All right, go your way. All right, you could keep doing your drugs and your prostitutes, which you literally wrote off on your tax returns as West Coast assistant. Just be more careful about letting it leak into the public. We don't want the public to know that you're enriching yourselves off your father's name and doing those sorts of things. But I digress. So, and that's the other thing. We're just going all political today. So these very same people, the Brian Kilmeades of the world, I saw this. I didn't tweet about it, but they were all mad that Donald Trump was saying that Hamas, they were quote unquote smart to try and attack Israel from the north. And they're like, oh, he's defending Hamas and this and that. This is why I hate the media. You can never say anything, how do I say it, with any sort of nuance whatsoever. So if you have a quote unquote enemy, you're never allowed to acknowledge that maybe these people, maybe they're wily. Maybe they actually do have some sort of strategic intelligence. Maybe there's a reason why you haven't been able to root them out for decades upon decades. You're allowed to say when somebody that you don't like does something that's smart. It doesn't mean that you sign off on the things that they do, particularly if they're evil. It just means that you're acknowledging that your adversary is capable of making smart decisions in war or in altercations or whatnot. But of course, what the media does is if you say, oh, well, Vladimir Putin, he's actually a sharp guy. They're like, oh, you're defending Vladimir Putin. You're a Putin shill. You're a Putin stooge. No, it's actually incredibly intelligent and wise to state when the person that you consider an enemy is also doing intelligent and wise things. It's stupid to refuse anybody to hear that the person that you're up against might actually be a worthy adversary or a worthy foe. It's important to see reality as it really is. You don't want to have an overly optimistic view of reality. You don't want to have an overly pessimistic view of reality. You want to have an accurate view of reality. And again, whether you hate or you love Donald Trump, if you're actually trying to think about what he's saying, if you're trying to get to the root of what he's really trying to say in any situation, if he says they were smart to attack from the north while Israel was focused on the south, he's not saying he signs off on Hamas at all. And the people that are trying to portray it as that, they're being dishonest or they're actually stupid. So again, whether you like someone or you dislike someone, you have to try and strip your emotions out of it. You have to try and look at things objectively, because if you don't look at things objectively, you're going to set yourself up for failure. Speaking of looking at things objectively, Sam Bankman-Fried thought lying and stealing were necessary for the greater good, his ex exclaims. Now, Sam Bankman-Fried, we could get into all the crypto stuff. The moral of the story here is that there are a number of very wealthy people who are activists, who are ideologues on the left side of the political spectrum, and they believe that objective moral truths do not exist. If you do not believe that objective moral truths exist, ultimately, speaking of seeds that bear bad fruit, you will get a situation where these people will see the ends justify the means. That particular worldview is what they need to do to accomplish what they want, when they want, how they want. So these are the people that we are up against. The vast majority of people out there do not realize that when you don't have a functioning moral compass, when you're a moral relativist, when you believe ends justify the means in terms of reaching your political goals or reaching your societal goals or cultural goals, they will do anything to realize them. They have essentially deputized themselves little mini gods. And when you deputize yourself a god, you can rationalize anything, no matter how evil, no matter how Machiavellian, no matter how nefarious it is, you can say you are in control of the balances, the scale of justice. You're essentially saying you're God, and your worldview is the only one that matters. Have you ever watched the UFC fights where the guy is going on the weigh-in? There's the guy at the scale. Every once in a while, there's a really big fight, and there's a guy that he's going to have a hard time making weight. And the guy at the scale, you can't see it because the cameras don't let you, but the scale is supposed to actually, like, when you set it, at some point in time, it levels out, and you can see whether the person is too heavy or too light, or they made weight. And so it'll go up and down and up and down, and they're supposed to wait until it stops, and then that's what their weight is, and they either made it or they didn't. And so sometimes the person who's at the scale will wait as it's going up and down. It hasn't stopped yet, but it just reaches that level point, and they hit the little scale thing and be like, all right, he's made weight, blah, 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 because they don't want to deal with the fallout if he doesn't make weight, because there's so much money on the line. Again, tying it to Sam Bankman-Fried and these people who they think they're God with their hands on the scales of justice or whatever. They can do all sorts of evil stuff that throws it off. They know on some level that it's evil. Early on, they actually know it's evil, but at some point in time, your will becomes so aligned with evil that you don't even realize it. Like, you're just almost operating on your autopilot evil or something like that. But at some point in time, these people, they will see that the scales are loading up with all sorts of evil. But because their ends justify the means, because they think of themselves as little demigods, they'll be like, oh, I'll even it out. I'm just going to do a bunch of good stuff. And the good stuff includes donating millions of dollars to people that agree with me. So even their accounting and how they balance the ledgers is screwed up and evil. And it's just this constant, like, spiral of, like, insanity and, like, detached from reality. So again, I'm just going, like, hopefully this is not too stream of consciousness, but when you go down this route of of rejecting objective moral truths, it continues to get more and more and more and more insane along the way. And at some point in time, you've been taken away by the evil riptide. You have gone under, and you're losing consciousness, and whatever is going to happen to you is going to happen to you, but it's bad. So the point, again, the moral of the story is you want to look at reality as it really is, objectively. If somebody says that their adversary on the political stage is a smart person, it doesn't mean that they love that person or they agree with everything 100%. It just means they're acknowledging that sometimes you're going up against really smart people, and they just happen to disagree with you. All right, so let's see where we're at. Before I forget, Animane, I don't know if you're familiar with Animane. He has had myself, Tim, and Mark on his show multiple times over the years. He recently reached out to me. Now, this is from August, but he didn't reach out to me that far back. But it was, I want to say, like 3 weeks ago. I forgot to mention this, but he offers video editing services. He offers services if you have a script, a comic script, all sorts of stuff. Check out Animane. He's a really nice guy. If you're looking for video editing services or other creative script feedback, check him out, talk to him. And yeah, he's been a very nice guy and a friend to the channel and a friend to Iconic Comics for a long time now. I'm super grateful. And when he came to me and was like, hey, I'm offering these services. If you know anybody that's interested, let him know. I'm going to let him know. So thanks for being a cool dude. Boom, boom. All right, what else do we got? Let's see. We talked about the readers, talked about Black Ops 6, talked about anime, talked about Sam Bankman-Fried. Some people have asked me about the Eric July lawsuit. So do you want to know what I think about the Eric July lawsuit? Let me tell you, it doesn't matter what I think about the Eric July lawsuit. I don't want to get involved in that for a number of reasons. So this tweet right here is sort of related to it. So So oftentimes when I have conversations with people or they bring something up with me, I got to figure out a way to protect the innocent in terms of I don't want to like out people. So this is just my interpretation of conversations that I have. So the question would be like, yo, have you seen any comics landscape over the past few weeks? It's like a merry-go-round that doubles as a circular firing squad. Dudes riding plastic horses unload muskets at each other, and sometimes they hit people waiting in line to ride. Me, that sounds nuts. I just ordered Peter Kreeft's Food for the Soul, Cycle B, and I can't wait to read it. Stay safe out there, man. Basically, I don't want to get involved in this sort of stuff because there are people out there that they would love for me to wade into the Eric July lawsuit, and they would be clipping stuff. They would be sending it to him. Or depending on what I said, they would send it to other people that don't like him and say like, Doug, did you see that? Doug, blah, 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 blah. So it's like, nah, I'm not gonna get involved in that sort of stuff in any sort of way where I would then get on the merry-go-round that doubles as a circular firing squad. No thanks. I don't want to go there. And so how do I say this? The only thing that I will say, and I think this is pretty common knowledge, is that you don't want to find yourself in a lawsuit if you could avoid it. Lawsuits are very expensive. And as my dad told me many years ago, pretty much the only people that profit from lawsuits are lawyers. So if you want to give lawyers a lot of money, then get yourself into a lawsuit because they're going to make a lot of money. And, for the most part, you're putting yourself in a situation where you don't know what a jury is going to say. You could believe to the cows come home that you're in the right, that you're going to win it. But you don't know what a jury is going to do. You especially don't know in 2023 what a jury is going to do when we've had generations of people where they have been deprived of the ability to learn how to use critical thinking skills. You don't want to find yourself before a jury in 2023 because you have no clue what they're going to do. They could come up with conclusions that are completely irrational, and again, speaking of about reality, divorced from reality. So the only thing I would say is try your best not to find yourself in a lawsuit. And I think that's I feel like that's fair. If anyone were to try and throw me onto the merry-go-round circular firing squad for that comment, then good luck, I guess. But I mean, that's just basic. Like I said, my dad told me that many years ago when I was a young man he was looking out for future Doug. And my dad just said, dude, you do not want to find yourself, if you could ever avoid a lawsuit or litigation, don't do it or whatever. You need to think really long and really hard before you cross the Rubicon. So I guess that would serve as a stepping stone to this question. Doug, why is Iconic Comics doing so well in an environment where a lot of oxygen is taken up by other things, like conversations about lawsuits? And I would go to Sebastian Junger's Freedom. So he oftentimes will talk about different studies. And in this one, there was 3 groups: U.S. Marines, elite athletes, and ordinary people. And they were put into fMRIs, and gradually the oxygen was reduced. So they were in this claustrophobic container, the MRI or whatever, and oxygen was slowly taken away from them, but they were told that they have to perform certain tasks. As expected, the control group performed worse on cognitive tests as their air supply dwindled, but the Marines and elite athletes performed better. Their minds responded to the threatening stimuli by focusing even more intently on the task at hand. In societies like the Apache that expect almost everyone to run or walk all day long, this elite response to stress might be so widespread as to be utterly unremarkable. Now, again, how does this tie into Iconic Comics thriving and succeeding in an environment where the oxygen, essentially, is taken up with all sorts of other topics on YouTube, on Twitter, and all of these sorts of things? It's because as the oxygen is deprived, you need to have the mindset of the Marines, of the U.S. Army, again, I'm biased, U.S. Army, of athletes who, when their body and their heart and their lungs are tasked, they focus more intently on the task at hand. And so when everybody is talking about lawsuits, when everybody is talking about who doesn't like this guy and who doesn't like that guy and who's the enemy of the week and all of this sort of stuff, or the enemy of the month, or the whatever, you got to focus on the task at hand, which is getting your books out, which is crafting quality stories, which is crafting beautiful artwork, which is fulfillment and distribution of your books in a timely manner to people that paid you their hard-earned money. Those are the tasks that you got to focus on. You got to put your almost blinders on to the stuff that is irrelevant and unnecessary. You know it's there, but right now we got to focus on the things that we got to focus on. And Iconic Comics is trying its best in an environment where everybody is focused on all this petty and silly and just bizarre crap. It's trying its best to focus on beautiful artwork and good in the truest sense of the word, storytelling, the good and the true and the beautiful. That's what you got to focus on, because in the long term, that is what matters. That is what people will not care. In fact, they have short memories. They don't remember stuff that happened 3 months ago or 6. Ice ages of ridiculousness have occurred in the indie comic landscape over the past 18 months. And a lot of people, they move on. They forget about it. They don't know. But you know what they do remember? They remember the stories that resonated with them. They remember the stories that, again, like Benjamin here, where's Benjamin? When their mother recently died and they picked up Soul Finder and it reignited their faith. Those are the things that you got to focus on. This is the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night. The pressure that is on. When you see somebody that says that this is what their story did to you, there's an insane amount of pressure that I put upon myself to write stories that live up to a certain standard. I do not want to drop below that standard, because if a story means this much to somebody and I'm putting out another book, it has to at least meet or exceed the previous story's standard. This stuff is very, very important to me, and I take it very seriously. And I don't want to let anybody down on these books. I want to make sure that the books are where they need to be, and that I'm properly articulating certain messages and certain themes that are properly aligned with my faith. Solid Halon, thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow there will be a mini con at the local mall. I'm going as a soul finder. Thanks, man. Very cool. Yeah, thanks for spreading the word. I appreciate it. Let's see, Lorenzo. I never quite know when Doug's going to go live, but I always enjoy his streams and the great people in the chat, such as yourself. Well said. Hey, Captain Frugal. All right, here we go. If there's anybody I missed, Tagia, JJ, Indie Wrestling, Horace, thanks for tuning in. Mr. X. All right. I think that's about it. Captain Frugal. All right. Says Man of Action. Rob Curro. Solid Halon. Everybody who's tuned in, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think that's about it. I've said my piece, unless there's any other final questions here. Zach, thanks for tuning in. Says, don't take the bait. Zach says you can acknowledge someone is smart even if they're bad. Indeed. Let's see. Captain Frugal, we let thousands of people in every day. You don't need a gun to protect yourself. Penn says be clowned himself. Matt is here. Blah blah blah. All right, I think we've covered it all. Rob says he's looking forward to the crossover. Dude, I'm telling you, the crossover is quality stuff. Tim and Mark did a really, really, really great job with Iconic X Antarctic Press Black Ops Volume 6. Check it out. It'll be launching in the very near future. All right, see you guys later. See you.